What is up, Facebook? Hope everybody is having a great night. Thanks for joining us. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got some news on the TTR billet intake, some pictures to show you, some funny videos. And the main topic of tonight is going to be cookie cutter combos versus micro records. And, I purposely picked two words there that's probably going to offend whichever one you are, just for fun. Um, we'll go over, exactly what my thought process is on that in just a little bit. And, you know, I'll explain to you why my perspective on that has changed quite a bit. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, maybe because I've been doing this a really long time. And, you know, I'm willing to admit that, opinions can change. Everybody want to say hi to Simon? Can't see his face. Woo! Look at this. He's sitting on the chair right behind me. What's up with that? Anyway, take care of a couple things here real quick. I want to, for those of you guys that follow me on Facebook, I have a thing going now in the Dyno room called the Wall of Fame. Stupid name, but I'm sticking with it. And, a couple people have asked how they get up on the wall. Well, if you have to ask, then you probably aren't going to get on there right now. These are not sponsors. I don't get any money from these people, or, some of these companies do help me, I guess. Whipple Supercharger's been very generous to me. And all these companies do help me here and there, but there's no specific sponsorship for the channel or the live feed or anything we do, really. These are just companies that I really support, and I feel they're great companies. We got Whipple at the top. Dustin's been awesome. He's been helping PBD out from day one. Kelly Aiken, a very good friend of mine, and also, a great resource in the industry, not just with Keltrack, he's got, Mr. Draggy now. He's got multiple things going on. But of course, most of you guys know him from back his days at BMR. You got TKM Performance. If customer asks us, that's typically where we go for an engine. TTR CNC is the intake manifolds that I've been talking about. Hellion Turbo. John Urist and I have become pretty good friends, and he's a great resource to this industry, and I really support his company for multiple reasons. Forge Line Wheels. I mean, American-made wheels that are monoblock. They don't do just monoblock wheels, but I love Forge Line wheels. If anybody needs a set of those, let us know. HB Tuners is another great company. While Eric Brooks is not an owner of the company, he's a very important key to that company and the Ford guy, and a super huge resource for Palm Beach Dyno. So I'm very thankful to them. Hot Rod Magazine, Mike Galimi, and all the guys over there have always been really good to us. And I talk to Mike, not all the time, but pretty often. And we get along really well, and that's why they're up there. And then over here, you've got Lethal Performance starting the next column. And there's other companies that should be on there that aren't on there yet. I'm waiting for stickers and things like that. Pro Charger is one of them. And there's probably a long list of people, that really belong on there. So let's see who we got in here. We got Jeff, what's up? He's asking about the Lenko in Cletus's Mustang. I think that's a super cool deal. Very, very unique. And that's really what the topic is today. A unique combo like that versus, and the Lenko with a converter in front of it, a lot of people run that, not exactly how they run it, especially shifting it by hand. So we'll go over that in a little bit. Nitrous and Bias Plies, what's up? Ed Cadillac, what's up? Heavy Chevy, TH400 9-inch. Yeah, that's definitely on the topic tonight. Jose, what's up? New York City. Walter, Cincinnati in the house. Craig Bill, what's up? He was on our dyno today. He has an awesome Fox body, Gen 1, Coyote swap, turbo. What transmissions? And it has a T56 in it. Very, very cool car. Brandy Bionis, that's the wifey. How's it going, baby? Anyway, I wanted to, first off, let me go ahead and show you this because I just got this like an hour ago or so, and I think it's very cool. This is the some drawings of the TTR billet intake with some new changes. The top one shows the optional burst panel that we're going to be offering on the billet intake. Obviously, there's another piece that goes on there with bolts, but that's just showing you where it goes. And then the bottom one here, which is what I'm most excited about, is the 21 Plus F-150. And if you look close, you can see Simon's here. I'll put Simon back on the screen for a second. Now that he's standing up. Oh, what's up? Run PBD. I'm sorry. I talk like him like that all the time. I guess I'm crazy. Anyway, the 21 Plus F-150 was a little bit of a challenging design. I don't believe any other company offers a direct bolt-on intake manifold for that because of the unique setup. And it was a little challenging for TTR, but they knocked it out. You want to get off? Here, get off. All right. This is just finished getting designed. They're going to be sending that to me here real soon. One other cool thing I wanted to show you guys. This was from, I was supposed to show this to you last week. And this is, hold on, let me turn this down a little bit. This shows you when things go wrong when testing. We were doing the TTR billet intake testing on this car, which didn't turn out well, and that's why you haven't seen the results. It's not that the intake didn't do well, but the car made pretty much identical power on all three intakes, which is really not accurate. So, you know, we're going to revisit that a little bit later. I had to send that intake manifold to somebody else, and I'm going to show you that picture here real soon because it's super, super cool. Anyway, let's watch this video real quick. So what happened here was after we swapped the intake manifold, this was the very first pull, of course. There's a line on the passenger side head that goes to the heater core that, you know, sometimes leaks a little bit, but this one did a little bit more than leak. Oof. I think that bad boy set a new distance record. Let's see where it first blew. Look at that. That was such a nightmare to clean up. Thanks to Bobby and Kobe. They ran out of the tuning office and, you know, jumped right to it. I flipped out. I was so pissed off that this happened. You know, I guess we should check that line. That's a line that should not come off, but I don't know if we knocked into it or something happened, but unfortunately it did. We got Mr. Draggy in the house. His Viper just went fives, and it went deep into the fives, I think, like 579. He was stuck at 6.0, and then all of a sudden, and this one goes out to Brandy. She loves Coca-Cola. All right, sorry, guys. Brandy, what's up? Contractor 556, what's up? Desmond, it's so quiet. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maybe the car in the video. I'm having trouble getting balance between my voice. Is it my voice that's too low? Should I turn that up? Is that better? How's that? Anyway, brake lights, or did it shit orange? No, I don't know why the brake lights came on. Premature evacuation. What's up, Rocco? Anyway, I want to show you guys some more stuff as we get more people in here before the topic starts. So we're talking about the TTR intake. Look at that. This is Ryan Hargett's Pro Mod Gen 2 Camaro. Yep, he's going to upset a lot of people with this car. So he just bolted on the TTR billet intake. It's got dual injectors. It has the APHIS injectors up top, which is an injector company by Harry, who was originally the founder, or he was the founder of Precision Turbo, and now has HPT with turbo, and he also has HPL lubricants. And then now he's done, I don't know how long he's done the injectors, quite a while. They're becoming more and more popular, and Ryan's a big supporter of his. So he's got that on the car. Let's see here. Here's a close up of it. It looks awesome. He actually just sent me another picture on Facebook, but I don't have time to grab it. Obviously, it's backwards, and that's by design. He's going to have his intercooler. I don't know if this thing's even going to have an intercooler, to be honest with you. Probably not. I'm not really sure. It runs on methanol. But as you can see, this is dual injector setup. So down here, we've got, I'm not sure exactly what those are. I think they're actually ID 2000s. So the car will drive around and run to a certain amount on those injectors. But when the big boy power comes in, these units will handle all the fueling. He really loved the intake. He just got it today, I think. And he's helping us, troubleshoot any little details with it that may need to be fixed. It really wasn't anything. In fact, he mentioned 2 or 3 things that I had already taken up with TTR and already fixed. And he had 1 or 2 other small things that are only going to really relate to somebody like this, which there's not that many people like this. There's not too many people with a full-blown Pro Mod trying to run this intake manifold or a Coyote in general. So, all right, let's see. Who else we got up? Armid, what's up? How's it going? Bobby, not the Coke. Hey, man, 1 Coke a day or week, entire week. It's my little treat to myself, staying late, doing this stuff, talking to you guys. I like to have 1 Coca-Cola. It's better than drinking a beer or something. I don't drink anymore. Video was too quiet. That's your fault, Brandy, because you told me it's so loud, and you tell me every day before my live feed to not make sure the audio is not too loud. I turned it down too much. The problem is my headphones are not actually monitoring the final mix, so I'm off a little bit there. John Bass, what's up? The Hellion F-150 video has ruined me selling my Whipple brand new truck in the box. Brand new Whipple in the box so he could bring the truck to us. That's awesome, and that's happened to a lot of people. I'm very thankful that, I was able to tell the story of that truck effectively. It seems like it, based on the response that we've had with people buying kits and scheduling builds and all that stuff. And, really all I'm doing on those videos is I'm just telling you what I think. And I'm not really, none of my videos are ever scripted. Of course, the live feed's not scripted, but none of my videos are scripted. I don't really think about what I'm going to say. I just get a car done. I don't get it done. I tuned it, but we've got a great team in the shop. Jeremy and Adam do awesome job on that kind of stuff. Jeremy mostly did that truck, and then it gets in my hands to tune it. And, it was a lot of work to get that truck done because it was the first completed truck with that kit. So we figured out a lot of little details that needed tweaked, worked directly with Urist at Hellion, and the final result was so incredible. And the response that you guys haven't even, sometimes I would like to have like a customer response in the videos. Maybe I need to do a follow-up. Clay's bringing the truck back soon. We're doing a converter, drive shaft, transmission. The intake manifold is going on his truck. And then maybe we'll take him for a ride, and you guys can get his own opinion on the truck. And we'll see what he thinks there. Business Richard, GTR intake, let's go. What, you want a TTR GTR intake? That may be possible. Heavy Chevy, is the intake heavy? I'm glad you brought it up. The TTR intake is super lightweight. We didn't really try to do that. I mean, they're just trying to make an efficient deal. But Ryan weighed it, and based on what we've seen, and we got to make. Each one had different throttle bodies. There might be slightly difference there, but the TTR billet intake is about 5 pounds lighter than the other billet intakes out there, and only 2 pounds heavier than the carbon fiber intake. Jay, what's up? That's a 331 truck. Karma Motorsports, racing Suncoast or McLeod for 10 or 80. Oh, not race, that's your name. Karma Motorsports, racing Suncoast or McLeod for 10 or 80. Our transmissions are built by RSA next door, so I believe Suncoast doesn't make their friction material. They just resell Ray Bestos, I believe, is who makes it. So I think it's Ray Best. I think that's who they use. I can't tell you that for sure. Mendoza's Coyote. Do you need to upgrade injectors on a 2020 GT500 to run E85 on a stock car? Yes. Yeah, definitely. The factory injectors, 56 pounders, are already a little undersized. They keep the injector small. It makes it a little easier to pass emissions and all that. And then a GT500 runs really high fuel pressure at wide open throttle to make up for that. And then from there, there's not a lot of room to grow. Obviously, you can make a good chunk more power on 93, but definitely not on E85. I would recommend ID 1050X injectors. And, the fuel rail kits that SPE and Lethal sell are a really good idea because the design of the factory fuel rails are not very good. Where the fuel comes in, I don't really like how it works. So SN95 Mustang Garage. What's the topic today? Topic today is cookie cutter combos versus micro record combos, which basically means, are you going to take, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a 6 or 80 or 10 or 80. That's a good example. And this topic came up based on talking to a friend of mine. I'll say who it is because he already outed himself on Facebook. Rob Little, and he's got a 10 or 80 swap car that's very, very fast. And, I had asked him, like, why don't you just throw a Turbo 400 in it? And his answer was interesting to me, and it was reminiscent of how I used to feel, and I feel differently about that now. But the general point is doing a combo that's super unique and nobody else has done and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people that like to go that route. But at some point, it can work against you as far as the fun factor. And we'll explain that in just a little bit. Let's talk, see who else is in here. Army cars headed to RSA on Monday for Stage 2 Plus, daily driven, driver life, ESS GX, G3X. Awesome. Yeah, their transmissions have been working out well for us. John Bailey, see, 260 GT fuel, 2650 TVS, Slocco ported, you didn't say Gen 1 head, Stage 3 NA cams. What pulley can I run on 100 octane power guess? Let's see, I lost, you retracted your statement. It's gone. No, Craig asked if they build manual transmissions. They do not. There's lots of places that do that. Nobody around here. There's one place in Florida that does okay. I forget their name. They used to be really big back in the NMRA days. They used to build trans for everybody. Astro Performance. They're good, but if you want to stay semi-local, but then there's Liberty, Hanlon Motorsports, places like that. Jay asks how the Hellion F-150 kit would be with 373s. Those are in his 23 F-150. I think it'll be fine. I mean, at a certain point, it just depends on how hard you're going to turn it up. It's funny because a couple people have asked me about the turbo kit and asking like, oh, can I do this for X amount of dollars? Let's say $15,000. And I'm like, no way in hell. But my mind instantly goes to Clay's truck, which is, pushing the limits. 3-pump fuel system, boost controller, the turbo kit, big injectors, the lowering kit, the vast stuff, the Keltrack shocks, all that stuff adds up. But this guy wasn't asking how to copy Clay's truck. He was just asking, he basically wants a turbo kit for a 93 octane crew cab truck, so it just depends on what you're doing with it. So it could certainly work on some applications, but at a certain point, too much gear is definitely going to work against you. We're already starting in second gear on these trucks, whether it be a Whipple or a turbo setup, once we get up into that mid to high 800 horsepower range. Hoodley 50, I start these too early, bro. I know, man, I'm old. 7 o'clock is late to me. By the time I get out of here and get home, I don't even feel like eating dinner and go right to bed. But uh, I don't know. We'll do a late night one. Maybe we'll do a different one on the weekend. I'll stay up later. Luis, what's up? Mad Max Racing. We don't hear enough about the all motor Mustangs nowadays. Well, that's because they're just not as popular. But here's if you want to talk about all motor Mustangs, I'm going to bring one up right now. I am super, super excited about this one. It's definitely the most extreme one you're going to see. Let's see. We'll just go through his pictures real quick. Why not? So this is my buddy Carlos Sobrino, and it's full-on race car. Check out that hood. He's got some really fancy headers for it here. Let's see. And then here's the engine. This is a super serious project. I believe it has a Liberty in it, Liberty 5-speed. Nobody's going to call this thing a street car, really, but that's not the point. The point is to be the world's fastest naturally aspirated Coyote-based setup, and I'd say he's a shoo-in for that. Army asked what the approximate max power on corn with twins 274 pumps and billet fuel rails return style. You could probably go a little bit above 1,000 horsepower. The stock GT 500 has twin pumps, and we go close to 1,000 horsepower. Those pumps are really good. The 274s are a little bit better, but Texas 5-0 missed you at Texas 2K this year, Ken. Thank you. I really wish I could have went, although with the way the schedule worked, and I enjoyed watching it online. I watched quite a bit of it online. I think they need to look at the street car class, though. There's lots of people that are very happy with it, and it winds up in a very good situation. Like the top level class was exciting to watch. All the classes were exciting to watch. So I guess the reason that I have an issue at all with it, it's not a huge issue, is the qualifying. I like to tune in to watch cars go as fast as they can. And with the way the street car class is, unless you're trying to be in the top class, it's like watching bracket racers, and that's not that fun. So the qualifying doesn't get that fun, especially because they don't show 8th mile times on the live feed. So when you get a guy lifting, unless they mention what he did at the 8th mile or whatever, it's just not as exciting. Bernard, what's up? Sorry about your fuel pump situation. That was a weird one. We were just talking about that earlier today, and I've never seen those pumps go out like that, so I want to dig a little deeper and make sure we're not missing something. Luis, do you know what causes a wrench light to come on and not throw any codes? The car goes into limp mode too. It's very rare that it doesn't throw a code and goes into limp mode. Sometimes you'll get the wrench light for weird reasons like some fuel system stuff, but the car will still run fine. If I had to guess, it is throwing a code. It's just whatever you're using to read the codes may not be seeing that code. That can happen a lot. Jay says he was set on a Whipple until he watched the video. Oh, don't tell Dustin that. King Lex, what's up? All out. Which tranny is best for racing, 6 or 80 or 10 or 80? I answered that last week, and it's got to be a 6 or 80, right? I mean, Lund's going 660s with their modified 6 or 80, and Cody's going 750s with his, and I think it'll go quicker. I've been 760s with my super outdated setup, and I'm hoping to make a run for the 6s with first gear leave with the 6 or 80. I don't hear anybody with the 10 or 80 even talking about going that fast, and a lot of the people, if you look at the 10 or 80 fastest list, those cars don't even exist anymore, so there just isn't really that many people pushing the 10 or 80 much past the mid to high 7-second range. Rob Little, who I mentioned, who is what motivated the topic, which we're going to get to real soon. I think he hopes to go, that same range. I think he's been 770s already, so I'm sure he wants to go 750s or quicker. But, takes a lot to get there. Carlos is nuts. I agree. I love that guy. How do you feel about the Hellion kit with the JD Stage 2 fuel system? I already have that in my truck preparing for the Whipple. Absolutely fine. The truck, or it doesn't know what power adder's on it, right? It's just going to support a certain amount of power, and probably will support as much as you would want to run on a stock motor anyway. I feel totally fine tuning that system to 900, 925 on a turbo setup. But even that's kind of pushing it. Obviously, we made that much on Clay's in the video, but I don't think he's ever hit it on the street like that. And I never hit it on the street. Nobody's ever hit it on the street on the top level. The most we ever ran that truck on the street is probably like right at 900. Boosted 50 asks if the F24 F-150 no longer sports flex fuel. That's the rumor. It's not listed that way in some of the things you can look up. And why, I don't know. I think it could be emissions related. Maybe it's just easier to pass emissions without it, and they decided to get rid of it. Force Engineering says TH400. I'm starting to agree there. What's up, Jason? Late to the party. All right, so that's all the current comments, I think. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get into the topic at hand here. So what motivated me in the past was always, and this doesn't really have to do with cars, just in general, right? I'm the type of person, when somebody says, I can't do this, whether it's I can't open this jar or I can't, defeat this level in a video game or anything like that, I've always been the guy to say, give me it. Let me try it. I want to do it. I want to prove a point. I want to be the best. I want to do something everybody else can't do. And that's motivated me probably the majority of my life. But sometimes to a fault, right? So, this really applies to anything with cars, as far as taking the common path, the well-known path, the path that's been worked out by people that have come before you, versus being that guy that takes a combo to a level that's never been seen before, So which of those guys do you want to be? And, there's definitely a lot to doing something first and being the first guy to do something, or doing something people didn't really imagine could happen. I mean, look at what Brett LaSalle is going through. He's just put everybody, everybody's in shock at not only what that car has done as like a one-off pass, like, the passes that he's made, I think he's been 9 or 620s, one pass in that range and everybody would have flipped out like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. But he's doing drag and drive events running close to those ETs. He's going and winning every race he goes to with those kind of ETs. So not only has he created a car that runs much quicker and faster than people could have imagined, but he's doing it super consistently and driving it on the street. People go, oh, that shouldn't be in street car. It's like, well, guess what? He's doing drag and drive. So to me, if you can complete a drag and drive event and win it, how could you not be considered a street car, right? Like you may want to like classify him in another level of street car, but there's nobody else at his level really. In Texas, there was people real close to him. I mean, I believe there were some cars that went 650s, Lon went 660, but I think Brett is just playing with everybody running 640s and 630s right now, because he's doing it with like 60 foots that I believe he could do much better, but why should he? Because then he might blow the tires off. So he's not and that's probably why he's so consistent with the car, because he's really not leaning on it as hard as he could. I don't know. I'm friendly with Brett, but I don't talk to him much about it. So I don't know. I'm just guessing. So when it comes to the topic, when you're trying to be that guy, it can get very frustrating. So even though I use Brett as an example, it's really not a great example because he's still able to go out and race all the time at tons of races. But you take somebody like, I'll use myself so I don't offend anybody, the 680. There was a time when, 680 specific racing was healthy and good. And, I won a modular, mod Nats, the 680 class. And I think it was one of the better years, and not just because I won, but it was very, very competitive. It was a lot of cars running, and it was a lot of fun. And that race is what makes me think that I don't want to do that. Because guess what? They don't even have that class anymore. Nobody cares as much. Most people don't care as much about 6 or 80. And at a certain point, I think it benefits you to follow that common path because yeah, it's nice every once in a while to go, oh, I'm the fastest with this, or I did this and nobody, did it, and, pat myself on the back. Wow, that's great. But at the end of the day, side by side competitive racing is way more fun than setting these micro records or making accomplishments that nobody else has made. Now, if you could do both, right? Cody Rogers was out there doing well with his car, but he got beat, and maybe it's because he's sticking with the 6 or 80 and is not using a turbo 400. Maybe it's just because he just got the car back together, and he's got more left in it. But the average guy out there that's racing a 6 or 80 or 10 or 80 would be much quicker and much faster if they put a turbo 400 in it. And then when I was talking to Rob Little about it, he's like, oh, well, then I'll just be like everybody else. And I'm like, so what? Like, when you play baseball, do you try to play it without a glove and go, yeah, I'm going to do this different. I'm not going to wear a glove. Check me out. No, you're just like everybody else, and you're playing a game and having fun. And at the end of the day, that's really the most enjoyable thing to me. I'm going to take a minute here to point something out. We're talking about Brett LaSala. This is the 6 or 80 shootout, 6 or 80 shootout at Mod Nats that I won. And is that too low? So this is way before nobody had bump boxes for 6 or 80s except for Brett. Brett had one. They had figured something out that nobody else had figured out. That's me in the white car. This was a car that we built for a customer, but I drove it. And I almost got beat in the first round right there. The ETs weren't close, but it was super tight. Every round was super tight racing. Here's another race. Juan, I believe he's still around. I think I saw him post recently, and that car's coming back out. I haven't seen it in a while. We had a really good race. We left together, super, super tight, and I think the ETs were super close. Let's see, 850 to 857 mile an hour was within 1 mile an hour. That was awesome. Right now, I am just loving life in this race. So here I am against Brett LaSala. And I know obviously I have no shot at beating him, and probably never again will I beat him, so I will gloat about this as much as I possibly can. He made the big mistake of letting me go in first, which let me get ready, and we left together, and man, it was an awesome, awesome race. I think I put the time slip up. 832 to 834. I think it was 100th of a second margin of victory. So look at all these rounds that we went, and then I think I faced actually Beefcake in the final round, but it wasn't that great of a race because he spun. Check this out. I threw the flashes on him. That's kind of a dickhead move. And me and Beefcake weren't getting along back then. But anyway, point is when I look back on all my racing, that is the most fun I ever had. And it wasn't because it was 6 or 80. It just so happened to be a group of 6 or 80 guys, but it was because there was huge participation in the class and it was super tight racing. Well, where do you get that now? You get that now in street car, in FL2K, in Texas 2K, and there's multiple races that have similar type classes, and everybody's running a Turbo 400. And my stupid brain will tell me like, no, 6 or 80 for life, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, why? Why not just build a known good combo? And when I say cookie cutter combo, there's so many differences on the internals of a Turbo 400 between Racer A and Racer B and the torque converter and maybe their suspension setup. There's no cookie cutter combos going as fast as most of these guys are going. But when I say cookie cutter, I mean Turbo 400, twin turbo Coyote, and Let It Eat. That's a cookie cutter combo to me. And it's cookie cutter because it's successful and you could go, right? Like Brett's a twin turbo 400 setup. If you put that together, are you going to go 620s and 630s? Hell no. If you go 720s or 730s, you're doing a really good job. A second slower. And that's the point, right? Like if you don't even have to know a ton yourself, but if you get the right companies involved and have somebody putting the parts together correctly, and you take a built Coyote, a set of twins, and a Turbo 400, if you're not going 750s or better, you will eventually, okay? You do the same exact thing with a 10-speed or a 6 or 80, maybe. I don't feel like bringing up the list right now, but there's probably 4 or 5 6 or 80 cars faster than 750s. I went 766, and I think I was like 6 or 8 on the list. So there's not that many that have been 750s or quicker. There's one 10 or 80 that's been that fast, and this is after years and years and years of trying. So, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that there's any real reason to not go that route, especially with the 10-speed? The problem with the 10-speed, in my opinion, is no matter how well you build it, you're building it a lot, Whereas you could take a 6 or 80 and spend more probably on the initial build with all the billet parts available, which I'm happy to have, and, have a fairly reliable transmission. And let me get this straight. When my red car comes back out, it will be 6 or 80 because I feel like before I retire the 6 or 80, I want to show exactly what I can do with it. And frankly, there's not a lot of customers to do it with. If I had a customer doing it, I might not do it, and just tune it and help with the car. But I don't have that. I have a couple guys that'll go fast, but not trying to go for 6s. So I want to put the 6 or 80 in and make a concerted effort to go 6s with it. First gear, leave, standard 6 or 80. But absolutely at some point, my car will not have a 6 or 80 in it. It will have a Turbo 400 in it, and I will try, I'll tell you, Brett really took the wind out of a lot of people's sails. Probably they got excited about it, and you can cheer for him. But to me, I'm like, Jesus, at the point he's at, even if I went that route, my car is going to be built to a similar level. Although I am sticking with stock suspension. He's got a 4-link in that thing. If I ever got anywhere close to him, that would be an accomplishment, let alone beating his time, which I doubt would ever happen. So that kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it for me, because at some point I always want to try to be the fastest, but that's like trying to say, well, I want to dunk as good as Michael Jordan. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, he's at a level where not many people are going to be there with him. Obviously, there's people trying, there's people talking shit, there's people saying that they're the king of the coyote, and Brett's not the only one going fast. But right now, I'd say he's the king. And most of the other people that are going fast for some reason, not some reason, I know why, it's just a lot easier on parts. They don't often run quarter mile once you get that fast. So he's checking all the boxes. Twin turbo LSX. Why do some tuners refuse to tune the JD fuel system? I and others have them and they work great. I don't know. I actually had a customer who bought the twin turbo kit from me, and just like I ask everybody else, do you need tuning with it? He said, no, I don't need tuning. And then he hit me up like a week later and was like, hey, would you tune the truck with this fuel system? And I said, absolutely. Why not? Oh, well, my tuner won't do it. He said he'll only tune 93 with it. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I don't know why, but I'll do it, no problem. And then a couple weeks later, I said, and he just now getting the turbo kit, and I said, did you decide what you're going to do on tuning? And he's like, oh, I went and bought a new fuel system. So this guy went and bought an entirely new fuel system after already having the JD fuel system just to make his tuner happy. He must really love his tuner. I personally don't understand that. He could have switched to our tuning. We already have an awesome tune for the truck, and we would have tuned that system no problem. But, I can't answer why. All I can tell you is I was tuning the JD fuel system before I ever talked to him. But then after I've talked to him, I feel even more confident in using his systems because of the way he checks every system before it goes out. It works very well. And I've had multiple people show up. We build a lot of F-150s, a ton of them, but we also get a shit ton of people that come to us from other tuners or, build it themselves, or I don't know where they originate, but they only come to us for a tune. And I started tuning them just because I'm like, well, I got to see how it works. And they run great. So, if you want to run I recommend them a lot of the times now when people are doing a build, because even though an F-150 is a little bit cheaper path than, say, a GT500 build, for instance, it adds up quick. So the JD fuel system is a nice place if you need to save a little bit, because it's a little bit cheaper than, say, a 4 system, and it's going to be a little cheaper to install. So I'm going to go skip ahead a little bit. Jason says we need innovators to push the envelope on parts development for our street guys in the future. Just my 2 cents. I do agree. And when we're talking about the topic, I'm talking more about competitive drag racing, right? People are putting turbo 400s in F-150s, and that's cool. But I don't want to be at that level right now. I'm in the development phase of F-150, where I'm trying to participate as a customer would participate and do things that a customer would do and learn as much as I possibly can, not only about the tuning side of things, but the parts and making sure the whole recipe is right. And if I just went and put a turbo 400 in my truck, I can go out and compete better maybe, and try to be the king of F-150. But that's not really what I'm after. I'm more after trying to help the 70 to 80% of the bulk of the market that really, need that information, whether it be, what to do on the trans build with a 10-speed, what converter to use, how to set the truck up. I get a lot of questions from people that are very race car inspired with these F-150s, and I tell them, like, look, you need to back it down. You don't need all that. You need to keep it simple when you're talking about a street car. So I try to follow that advice. Walter, can you recommend a Turbo 400 dump valve controller for use with the stock PCM? No, I cannot. I don't know of one. That's not really my specialty. If we run on a live feed, I would ask my buddy Eric Holiday, who's, Mr. Race Car Tuner, and he might know, although he doesn't really do much stock computer stuff. He's mostly controlling that with Fuel Tech or whatever he happens to be using. So I'm not sure. We can help you look into that. TJ says he likes red cars. Andrew, the more people pushing the 6R, 10R, the more development that happens. The 10R will catch up to the 6R eventually, and they'll both catch up to the 400 as well, at least from a development standpoint. I would disagree with that very heavily because this video I showed you was 6 years ago. 6 years ago. And since then, there hasn't been a 6 or 80 shootout that comes close to that. And they've gotten to the point where they've canceled 6 or 80 in mod nationals, 6 or 80, 10 or 80. So there will be people that push the limits here and there, but this stuff takes a tremendous amount of time and money. And we've already spent a tremendous amount of time on the 6 or 80, a tremendous amount of money. There's all these billet parts, yet there's still people that are just bypassing that and going turbo 400. And it's because of what I said, or, you know, at least that's what I think. It's, yeah, I can do it that way, but man, it's so much easier to do a turbo 400, you know, and that sounds like a negative, like you're taking the easy way out, but I don't really think that's the case because, again, it's about having a repeatable car that you can just go out and have fun with at races and not have to stress. Like, so in my case, 6 or 80, fully billet, everything billet in it. Do I build 2 of those? What happens when I go to a race and it breaks? Nobody else there is going to have a 6 or 80 that I can borrow. Nobody else there is going to have 6 or 80 parts that I can use. So that's the other danger of building a combo like that when you're trying to do real competitive races. If you're just a test and tuner and going out and trying to set records, it doesn't matter because you go out, you break it. I'm going to go home and I'll fix it. I'll be back. But when you spent thousands of dollars to go to a race like Texas and spend an entire week there and you break it, now what? You know, whereas if it was a Turbo 400, if you couldn't find something at the track, most likely you're going to find somebody in that general area that can help you track down the parts that you need. So, all right, let's go over another couple comments here. Rocco said that's how he felt back in the day with supercharged stick Fox body setups, the good old days. Yeah, you know, it was nicer at some point where things were simpler. I think it was a lot easier for people to put their own cars together. Things have gotten so complicated that it's not really the best plan to put your own car together anymore, it seems like. JMS Performance. Honestly, what's the difference between a 6R80 missing 4 gears and a glide? You know, that's a sensitive topic. I personally, when I do the 6R80, it'll always be first gear leave, have all 6 gears, and, you know, I'll get as far as I can with it and then switch the transmission when I'm ready to go faster. Jason says he's looking forward to updating to the JD Stage 2 and going full E85. He's got the Shelby single cab. I just posted a short a couple of days ago on that, and he made some good power on a flex tune. Drag and Drive with aluminum rods. The podcast he did with Andre was very informative. I did see that posted. I have not had a chance to watch it yet, but I will. I think Brett's a very, very smart guy, and I'm super excited that he's embracing the media side of things and the YouTube channel and all that, because I believe he has a lot of good information to share, and he's good at it. I mean, I was actually impressed. He did a video when they were trying to make 3,000 horsepower at Real Street on the dyno. I thought, you know, I'm sure he's getting help with the video. He's not doing everything himself, but he did an awesome job. He's speaking well in the videos, making sure all the right information is in there. So hats off to Brett on that. E85 on the Florida Turnpike Plaza tested at 72%. What's the remaining 28%, and what does the tune adjust? Your guess is as good as mine on what's the other 28%. So when I'm racing my truck or car, I do like to use better fuel, because obviously when I'm racing it on the street or driving on the street, I don't. Because you know what's in it. So I use 1 ethanol S in my truck, which, you know, people go, well, that's the same stuff you can get out of the pump. It's like, no, it's not. it's definitely better. But power wise, you probably make similar power. It's just a little bit of an insurance policy. So the other percentage that's in there is going to be probably like 87 octane and other additives and crap, really, honestly. And it probably depends a little bit about on where you live and what's added to it, and what percentage you are in it. The tune does adjust to that. It depends on what kind of car you have. But if it's a 2011 and newer, they have wide bands, long-term fuel trims. As long as your tune is correct, it can adjust. Much below E70, you might want to like a different tune. Like if you consistently have E60 in your area, or I believe out in Arizona and some other states, they don't have E85 anymore. They just have E50 or E55. You definitely want a specific tune for that. Ranger says data wins. Absolutely. Army, what are your thoughts on arcane fuel? I don't know what that is. You know, it's interesting. I do see a lot of these oh, is it oh, you're talking about the fuel system. Oh, I think that's just a radium setup that they're packaging together for Juggernaut. Uh, it's fine. I use the radium stuff all the time. We use the radium fuel hat when we do the ID fuel system with the brushless pump. It's a good setup for sure. Beefcake Racing, what's up? Hey, I don't know if you just came in here, but I just showed me throwing the flashes on you at Mod Nats when I beat you like 6 years ago. 99% of our customers aren't doing a 400. I do agree. You know, when I'm talking about is the type of person who wants to go to like all the races. So, you know, like I said, Texas, maybe even World Cup, FL2K, Streetcar Takeover, no prep events, things like that. I'm not talking about, and I don't want you to take this as a negative when I say a test and tuner. There's nothing wrong with being a test and tuner. I've had many long stretches in my life where I was just a test and tuner, and that's a lot of fun. But at a certain point, it's more fun to race somebody next to you, you know, and know what's going on. Mr. Joe, hey, I believe that's Joe Trahan. Is the 6 or 80 Motec available yet? I don't think so, but if they didn't tell you, I think your wheels showed up today that you ordered. Finally. Jason says it's 2,000 to go with the JD fuel system versus the 4 system. When I got a quote from your shop, the reason I'm going to go with the JD route, for pricing, and it's cheaper to install. That's probably a factor. What's a rough estimate? Brandon asked for 10 or 80 can handle safely. Oh, you know, that just depends on how you built it. You know, there's lots of guys that make 1,100 horsepower on it, no problem. Rarefab has their 1,500 package, which I don't think Rob Little's making that much with his, but his lasted a really long time, lots and lots of passes. And there's other vehicles out there running their 1,500 package. So with that setup, you know, you might be able to run 1,500. Tony, what's up? That's a name I see all the time on our Facebook. Mendoza's Coyote, how would you build a daily driver, occasional roll car for 2020 GT500, 850 to 900 horsepower? Depends on the budget. If when you capitalized you, so I would say, I wish I had a way to remote camera it, but right there is the dyno room, and there's a car sitting on that dyno, and that's exactly how I would do it because we built that package, and that package we spent a lot of time on. I bought a car specifically to build that package. That was my wife's GT500 for some time. That's gone now, and that's our. Now it depends on budget. Like I said, there's cheaper ways to get there, but this is my favorite way because you're getting there on 93 octane. So you don't have to mess with E85 or worry about that, especially for like the occasional racer. Sometimes E85 could be a little pain. You know, the car sit too long. Sometimes there could be issues. Not really, but, you know, theoretically. And So that's a ported blower, 2.7 pulley, our billet lid, and there's different versions of that. The one on the dyno is the top level S3, and that has, it's pretty much it's very similar to our CX1100R package without the fuel system and smaller injectors. And that one is making 898 at the wheels, 93 octane. I mean, how could you go wrong with that? Tony, I know Lund is going 670 on a modded 6R80, also proving it can hold up and be competitive. Certainly competitive. They won MIR World Cup, but that's a little bit because of the way the rules lay out in World Cup. I mean, they did an awesome job. Don't get me wrong, but streetcar, there really aren't rules. So he was side by side with Brett Lasala and did very, very good, but he did lose. So the question is, would they be like super competitive, like side by side, or beat Brett if they put a turbo 400 in the car? And then again, like, nothing against Lund, but that's a very modified 680, meaning I believe it's only a 2 or 3 speed now. So at that point, the gearing isn't much different than a turbo 400. So really, how much of a disadvantage is there, or why even go that route if you can just put a turbo 400 in it at that point? So I'm not sure. Revit Racing, water. I don't have any water. There's a cup of water sitting right there from last week. There's no way I'm drinking that. Rocco, right at about 9.5, my stock 10 or 80 starts acting up. It's rock solid at low 10s, high 9s. Yeah, and then once you build it, it'd be much better. Kevin says watching these chats makes him want another car. He had an awesome ProCharge 10-speed car, I believe. Beefcake, broken axle on that race. Yeah, whatever. You were just scared to lose to the turbo car. Anyway, Draggy chasers are the new TNT guys. Well, like I said, I wasn't saying the Test and Tune negative, and I love Draggy. Draggy is awesome. I know you don't like it, TJ, but I disagree with you very heavily on that. I think a Draggy is awesome. It allows you to really measure your gains, learn how to drive your car if it's a stick shift car, learn what your car needs, and also do, as a tuner, it's a huge benefit because you can go out and do a 60 to 130, do a data log, see what you want to change, go change it, then do another 60 to 130 and see if you pick up. So it's an awesome, awesome tool, right? Drag racing is awesome, but you need a drag strip for that, especially when you're talking about a rear-wheel drive car. Now, with my truck, I can do digs because it's 4x4, but what do I use to measure my performance? A draggy. So I love draggies. I think it's one of the best things that's happened to our business in a long time, actually. What up? Later horsepower. What transmission do you recommend in a 2009 Crown Vic with a 7.3 Godzilla swap? Is that Igor? That's gotta be. Yeah, it is. I think that's your channel name, isn't it? Yeah, he put a Godzilla in a Crown Vic. Check out his YouTube channel. He also was on our dyno. He's got a Dark Horse with a Whipple. He's a Whipple man, obviously, which I am too. Well, why don't you put a 6 or 80 behind it? I love 6 or 80, so don't get me wrong. We have a super badass 2010 GT 500 with a Coyote swap, with a Whipple Gen 6, 3.8 liter, 6R80. I mean, that car, if I could afford it, I would offer that guy money to buy it. It's super clean, super badass. John Miller, what's up? John Miller is he's a stick shift guy. He went super fast with his car and didn't do it the easy way. He was one of the I hope you don't take this the wrong way, John, but like a regular guy, and struggled like to get there. So like he paid his dues and learned and learned and learned and learned until he got to be the cream of the crop in stick shift racing. Obviously, people have gone faster since then, but at the time he was racing that car, it was super, super impressive. And I remember saying, I don't know John that well, I know him from Facebook, but I was like proud of him just by like following him, like, damn, he did it, you know. And that's one of the nice things about the micro record thing. In his case, it was stick shift racing, which is its own handicap. Obviously, most of those guys could probably put automatic transmissions in them and go much quicker, but they choose to take the path less traveled. So, you know, that kind of fits into the conversation as well. Brando forgot the keyword. What can I stock factory 1080 handle safely? Depends on if you're talking about a Mustang or an F-150, but 900-ish. You know, I'm making 900-ish in my F-150, and it's holding up so far. We've had a couple customers that over time it gets worn out at that level, but it doesn't like grenade. And that's the nice thing about the 10 or 80. Typically, if you really push a 10 or 80 hard, it's just going to burn up the clutches. Yeah, you need a new valve body. Yeah, you got to clean out your converter, but there's no like catastrophic failure. Whereas on a 6-speed, if you don't change the planetary, the forward planetary, it's going to explode and you're going to have major carnage. So that's one advantage over the 10 speed over a 6-speed is you can really push it harder stock without like worrying that it's just going to totally eat itself. Stock modified. Cookie cutter combos are the best. Most don't know the amount of money of keeping up a race car. Yeah, and I agree. And that's another good reason to go that route. And I think a lot of people at some point get sucked into the micro record thing and the fastest 10 speed or the fastest 6 speed or the fastest this or the fastest that. But when you consider the budget it takes to do that versus, say, getting a cookie cutter Turbo 400 and a cookie cutter off the shelf turbo kit and just going to have fun, man, that's a great option for most people, honestly. Oh, this guy's hilarious. Let's see, what do we got here? Tony, can't argue 400 is the way to go. Just love that it could be an option with much more testing. I agree, kinda, but not exactly. Anyway, let's see. Andrew, I'm just hoping to take my crew cab into the 9s, waiting for the Gen 6 Whipple to show up. Then I'll start pushing it and upgrade as needed. 2-wheel drive is going to make it harder, though. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, a lot of people ask me that 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive. And, you know, to me, the really big advantage of the 4-wheel drive is you can have fun with it all the time. Whereas with, sorry, I lost track of where I was here. Here we go. Whereas with 2-wheel drive, once you get to a certain point, it really becomes a track-only vehicle, or at least to have fun with it, you know, and that probably happens in the high 7, low 800 range. You get to the point where you really can't do a whole lot with it. Let's see. Losing track of where I am here. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. My windows are getting mixed up. For those asking, when I asked Ken what is safe for a stock 10 or 80 in my truck, he mentioned let's keep it 850 wheel and under to be safe. Yeah, we've built a ton at that level with almost no issues. What is going on here? Sorry, YouTube's messing with me. Okay, there we go. TT6 or 80. This guy's hilarious. He said, "I hear you got the micro record for the most customer vehicles wrecked." That really takes a big man to post something like that. What a fucking loser. Uh, hey, how come hold on, the comments aren't popping up anymore? Let me fix that real quick. Shit. My computer's freaking out. I hope it's working for you guys. Okay, I think that's working. Can you guys hear me okay? My YouTube control panel's telling me I got a problem. Anyway, we'll keep going. Oh, here's this guy. Let's put it up there just to make him famous. I hear you got the micro record for the most customer vehicles wrecked. Oh, yeah. Look at his picture. What a troll. TT6R80. Everybody give that guy a big thumbs up. He's a real tough guy making hilarious comments like that. He's probably also the guy that follows you around on Facebook and makes comments under fake names because he's a pussy and can't really say who he is or really what he's about. Probably lives in his mom's basement too. It's hilarious. Got anything else to say, fuckface? For those of you asking when I ask Ken, oh no, I already did that one. For the same money, I'll take a Turbo 400 every time. I'd even pay for the different closer ratios in the planets. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm still dedicated to the 6R80, but I don't really see that many people chasing that anymore. I mean, if you name 5 people that are still chasing 6R80 records, really the only one out there currently running fast all the time is Cody. You've got people like Frank Interuzzi, but he's not like trying to make his car that light or anything, and he'll probably be a 7-second one. But you know, how fast will his car go with a Turbo 400? Beefcake says he likes making a 2-wheel drive lighter truck, and he's fat. Need all the weight out. Yeah, that's one advantage to the 2-wheel drive. I don't know the exact number, but I believe it's at least 200-pound difference. But why get the heavy truck if it's not 4-wheel drive? Well, like Beefcake said, you know, it's a little bit lighter. I mean, a 2-wheel drive F-150 is probably going to be similar to, you know, almost a GT500 weight at that point. Casey, here for the cookie cutter build. The consistency is unmatched. Absolutely. Casey obviously won the championship last year in what is going on here? I'm super confused. Oh, I see what happened. All right. Sorry, guys. I was a little distracted by YouTube. It was messing with me over here. I thought the stream was messed up, but it wasn't. He won the championship last year in 860 street race. Now, would it be possible for him to be doing that? Let's see. His car is a Gen 2, so it would have a 6R80 in it. Could he do that with a 6R80? Maybe. I would say he would have a much harder time being a champion with a 6R80. And some people might like that idea. I used to like that idea. I've been like, well, I'm going to go win it with a 6R80. It's like, well, why don't I give myself the best chance instead? Stock modified. There's a guy named Kelly Aiken that I keep hearing about. Who is he? And I hear he likes to push platforms. Is that Kelly under a fake name? That sounds like something Kelly would ask. No, I'm just kidding. Kelly owns Keltrack. He used to work for BMR. He's a big Palm Beach Dyno supporter. He also has Mr. Draggy YouTube channel, and he's awesome. He was in here. He's probably not here anymore. He has a short attention span. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's see. Rocco. I'm losing track of where I'm at. Sorry, guys. Cincy repping tonight. Walter, yeah. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm not from Cincinnati, but I spent 18 years in Cincinnati, and that's where I got into Mustangs and cars and A lot of the people that are in here on and off are friends from the Cincinnati days and are still kicking ass. Walter is one of them. Uh, yeah, that guy was a troll. Whatever. It's hilarious. Oh, there he is. Kelly, he's here. Okay, let's see. We're 70 minutes in, and he's still here. That means something good. Uh, Crew cab will eat up all the savings of two-wheel drive, but all good. Still gonna go fast enough to gap TJ. Yeah, it's funny. Like with the F-150 stuff, the regular cab short bed has gotten so incredibly popular, but uh, there's a lot of other F-150s out there, and when people hit me up for advice, I just instantly go to the most extreme combo, and then they tell me something about their truck or an ET, and I'm like, well, that's not very good. And they're like, well, it's a crew cab, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's very good then. I just forget that people are taking a normal F-150, which because I don't consider a regular cab short bed a regular F-150 at all. I don't think most people would buy that just to have as a truck, but they're buying it more for a race truck at this point. So Jason says he's cheap and broke is the reason I like cookie cutter builds. You have a Shelby Super Snake Sport. I don't think you're broke. Cleaning off the grill. New York strips were fire, man. Stop talking about food. I got a few more minutes to on this live feed, and then I'm headed home. And I have some steaks in the fridge. Maybe I'll cook those when I get home. Andrew said Kelly's slow. He can't even go fives in a Viper. Actually, he did go fives. I don't think he posted. Did you post that yet, Kelly? Maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't have told anybody. I know he posted a post last night saying he couldn't go fives, but that has changed today. Things change day to day. We're going to have one other thing we're going to bring back soon is the podcast. So I'd like to hear who you guys want to see on the podcast. Kelly's definitely going to be one of them. I have a long list of people I would like to get on the podcast. One rule that I set for the podcast was I wasn't going to do any podcasts unless it was an in-person deal. How do you guys feel about that? Should I do more of them and do like like a Zoom type video call, or do you prefer those being in person? I personally prefer them being in person. I think they turn out better that way. The issue is getting people down here to participate in live in person. So we'll see. Anyway, so back to the topic, and we'll kind of close that topic out and open it up to any more questions if you guys have any. Is I think the best advice I can give to most people is, unless you're trying to prove a point, come up, watch races, I guess, and see what types of builds interest you. And it's there's nothing wrong with copying a build or building your car based off somebody else. But look at the people that are doing things consistently, and they're at every race, and they're not breaking very often, and they're going rounds, because that's what you want at the end of the day, in my opinion. And there was a really long time where I didn't care that much about that. I just wanted to be like, one pass fastest ever. Look at what I did. This is badass. But that wears off, after you do it. So that's what I plan to do with my red car when it comes back out. Is it, at first I'm going to do a lot of drag and drives with that and stick to, the micro record thing and 680 and trying to be one of the fastest 680 cars ever. But long term, and I'm building the car with this in mind, it's gonna be. It may still always go drag and drive. Like I kind of like what Brett did. I mean, that's kind of what I plan to do with my car after it got done, after the 680. But by the time I get to that, it's gonna be old news. So. And maybe that's another reason I have the opinion I have, is because a lot of the goals that I had set out for myself, other people have achieved. So why don't I just build a car and have fun with it? There's nothing wrong with just going out to have fun. Go to a race that you don't think you could win, but maybe, you're in the ballpark, just go out and have fun. That's what's missing in this industry. Although that definitely didn't happen at, a lot of people like to give Texas a lot of shit, the race, TX2K, but it was packed with people, very competitive. A lot of the big names that we all know were there racing, doing great. They're not out there bitching about anything. They're not out there bitching about the races. They're not out there bitching about whatever they can bitch about. It's the people that are at home that are bitching about shit that they're not even doing that you hear about. And that's sad. I don't like that part. And it's unfortunate that it's that way in our industry. So, I would just like to see as many people get out to the races as possible. Uh, anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Unless anybody has any questions they want to ask. Oh, I got another couple comments pop up here. Mendoza says, I've been binge watching all your GT500 videos. They're super informative and preparing me for when I get mine. Thanks. I really appreciate that feedback. And that was a really great time in development for me. And I'm going through similar things now with the Coyote, with the F-150. Unfortunately, I don't have as much time to do that level of video, and that's why I'm doing these live feeds, and you see me doing more shorts. I want to try to stay engaged with you guys and share what we're doing, but the long form videos do take a little bit more time. The other issue that's really a big factor in those videos as compared to newer videos is we don't have a track anymore here. That's why you see me doing draggies, although I'm backing off on doing draggies in my truck out front here because I had an incident that was very dicey. But that's another reason I'm not able to do the long form videos. My car is so basic, all records are micro. That's pretty funny. Stick shift the world. Hey, what's up with your car, bro? I keep saying it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's looking real close. We're all dying to see it. When do you have a specific debut that you plan on doing it, or like a race, or when are you going to show everybody what that unit can do? I'm sure everybody wants to see it. Jose, I would love to see you on the Street Alpha podcast. Yeah, that podcast was a little bit off my radar. It's been popping up in my feed, and looks like a pretty popular podcast. I wouldn't mind being on it. I don't know the guy, so if he's in here or him, have him reach out to me. Business Richard, would Speed Journal be a good podcast name? I already have a podcast name, and I did 2 podcasts, and then I put that whole thing on hold. It's called Hit the Brakes, and the idea behind that name was to talk to industry leaders or people that have something to say, but in a long format, drawn out deal, like, hey, hit the brakes. Let's sit down and have a real conversation, not just a highlight reel, and really dig into it. So I do want to do that. Tuke's definitely willing to sit down and do the podcast with you. Cool. Well, have them reach out to me. The best way to contact me personally is Facebook. I can't answer every Facebook message, but I try. So sometimes if I'm super busy, I gotta just move on, and then it wouldn't hurt if you sent another one. Maybe if you haven't heard from me in a few days, I'm probably not going to hear from me. So just send me another one. Craig Built, interview and maybe a few minutes carved out for Q&A and a chat if people have questions for the guest that's on. Yeah, I might do like live type stuff like that, but if I'm doing a podcast, I want it to be more a la Joe Rogan, where we're not sitting down looking at the camera. We're not engaging with the audience. It's just me having a conversation with another person, and you guys get to listen in. That's my favorite type of podcast. I don't like the podcasts that are like in this format where it's more speaking to the audience. I'd like to hear people have conversations and just listen in. That's my favorite type of podcast. Everyone wants to go max effort to beat his stock Mach with a 3.0. Yeah, man, it's hilarious that there's still people chasing your car, John says, awesome job tonight. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. No problem, brother. Stick shift the world. He does not know when his car is coming out, just trying to finish it. Like I built the rest of the car. It will be soon though. Yeah, man, I'm excited about it. I'm glad things are moving along. I know you had some issues there to deal with, but Carter's TV just joined. When is that manifold test going to happen for the turbo car? I talked about that earlier. We had a little issue on the test car. I don't know if it was a turbo issue or whatever. Every manifold we tested on it was exactly the same power curve, so there was something else holding it back. That manifold, because we only have one of them right now, was sent to this guy who ordered one, but I'm letting him use the test unit to get his car mocked up and ready to go, because this will most likely, I sure hope so, be the world's fastest Coyote or very close to it. And it's going to be a drag and drive car, which makes it even cooler. And it's a Coyote in a Camaro. So that checks a lot of boxes there. So I decided to send the manifold to him to get all his mock-up and testing done. And then he's going to send that back to me when his manifold's done, and then we will test it. The main reason I don't feel it's super critical to get the testing done on the billet manifold, because we already did testing on the carbon manifold, which has the same intake runner design and should make very similar power. So I don't really think, it's good information to have, but it's pretty much going to do what we all think. For those of you guys that didn't see the GT500 testing, we didn't test it versus a Boss manifold or GT350 manifold, which to me is going to be very interesting once we get to that point, but not critical. But when we tested it against the Plasma Man and the what was it? The Sean's Custom Alloy, it did better against all of them, but it was close, right? So once you get to a manifold that works well, there's not going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 horsepower between different billet manifolds. If so, the one that sucks is going to go out of business, because they shouldn't be that bad. But the interesting part will be to see it versus like a Boss or GT350. But right now, we're selling a good amount of the billet manifolds. The 21 F-150 guys are very interested in it because it's direct fit. The Mustang crowd is very interested in it because it's same performance as the carbon manifold at like $1,200 cheaper. But once I get this initial prototype manifold back, we will. I need a car, honestly, to test it on. The car that we were testing it on, I thought would be a good candidate, but I did forget we were having some issues where boost would roll off at the high end with it. So I just don't think it's a great. It wasn't going to be a great test, and I didn't really see a real big point in trying to do anything with that or publish it and just show you guys what happened, because nothing really happened. It was very disappointing that we weren't able to show much of a difference. Pro Charge Beast, what's up? Noel says, where do streetcars go from here? Guys would have killed to go 11s back in the day. Now they're going 8s and 7s. Where do we go from here? Well, that's an interesting problem because of the whole safety rules that are related to these cars. And most of these cars are definitely going much quicker and faster than what they're set up to do safety-wise. And that's only going to get more and more, become more and more of an issue. So Jason says, thanks for tuning his truck. Noel says, what's up? How you doing? Conspiracy theories on actual builds. Love Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan is awesome. I mean, obviously, if you're going to do a podcast, that would be a good guy to copy. And I'm not copying him, but there's different styles of podcasts. And, I think that's one of the better ones. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to sit down and get that going again. Can you show us photos of the gray S650 thing? Looks mint with that front chin. I'm not sure what that is. What you're talking about? What gray S650 thing? I want to see how the new manifold would be on my ProCharge GT350. What intake manifold's on it right now? I assume GT350. Um, you know, a lot of people have asked, and then I'm going to wrap it up here. I just want to make one more comment about well, especially the carbon intake, but even the billet intake. Some guy said, when do I need this intake? The answer is never. You never need that intake, right? Like you could still make good power and go really fast with the Boss or GT350. It's whether you want that intake. It's beautiful, both of them. It's unique. It allows you to make more power at less boost. It's either carbon, which is very strong, or billet, which is very strong. You don't have to worry about a plastic intake blowing apart. There's lots of advantages to the manifold, but if you're like on a super tight budget, not that I don't want to sell you an intake, but you know, it's more, there's a component of it that it's just something very nice, very well engineered that you might want. So that's probably how I would look at it if I was going to buy it. Don't buy it strictly on performance. Buy it because you want it. And if you don't want it, then you're good. Fastest cars are at home and the best drivers are in the stands. Yeah, the internet has gotten so ridiculous lately. I loved seeing all the comments about Texas, and I'm not saying I love how it's run or the guy who runs it or any of that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a good show. I mean, and they've been plagued by rain the last 2 years, unfortunately. I don't necessarily like how it's been extended into this like week-long event, especially when some of the classes are all split up based on ETs. DCT split up on ETs, streetcar split up on ETs, and it just turns into like sandbag nationals, I call it. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna run it to the 8th, and I'm in a good spot on the ladder, and it's like, come on, guys. And I don't know how to fix that because, like I said, it winds up in a spot where the racing is competitive, so the result is very good, but the qualifying sucks. So I think they need to figure out a way to better define classes with rules. Like, so instead of it just being everybody's in streetcar and the top 16, next 16, like, all right, the top class is, if you want to be in the top class, go in the top class. If you want to be in the second class, there's a max turbo size, there's a minimum weight, there's whatever rules you can do to get everybody in that general ET range, so that way those people can still continue to run full out and they're not sandbagging, and do that with all 4 classes to where, maybe, the problem is that's extremely difficult to do. It's extremely time consuming. I don't know that, the people with Texas TX2K have all the data to be able to write those types of rules. A good example on how they do this at other races is World Cup. So World Cup does it by inheriting rules from other sanctioning bodies, right? And that's like Street Fighter, for instance. You were able to follow the rules as a crossover from Mod Nats. And, that allowed a 6R80 car to be in a class with larger turbos than, say, the Turbo 400 car. And they do their best to make it as fair as possible. But nobody's sandbagging to be in a certain bracket, right? And I feel like they've almost tricked everybody into being bracket racers with the streetcar class and all this, or index racers, instead of just coming up with specific sets of rules for each individual class and let's see all the cars run out. So I don't know. I wasn't there racing, so I'm violating my own rule, and I'm criticizing when, maybe, it's fine the way it is. Maybe it doesn't need changed, but that's my biggest complaint about, and it's the same class in FL2K. It's called streetcar. It's popular, so I don't want to mess with it too much and ruin the racing, but I just really don't enjoy the qualifying side of it as much as I would like to. I want to see XYZ car make their new best hit and go, okay, well, they went this in first round, second round, they're going to do this. But if they make a good hit on their first round, they may not even come up for the second round, or they're going to lift, or I don't know. I think it's a little lame. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I personally would do the carbon on a build. Actually, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'll probably put one of those on my red car when it comes back out. But performance-wise, the billet one should be identical or very, very, very close. So the main difference between the billet and the carbon one is, jewelry at that point. TJ says street cars will go bye-bye and everything will be electric. I don't know, man. I see the tides turning there already a little bit against electric. Toyota's not super hardcore behind it. I mean, obviously they got the Prius, but they haven't really been doing a ton there. I think BMW may have announced that they're going more towards hydrogen route instead of electric. There's just not the infrastructure there. They try to pretend there is, but we'll see. He hate me. Run clocks off for qualifying. Yeah. Well, either way, I mean, the problem is you got draggies. So the individual, like, we may not be able, the clocks off is bad because that's the problem with no time racing. It's hard, especially when you're watching on video, to tell the difference between a fast car and a kind of fast car. So the clock's really important for the spectators, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know the answer to how to handle it. Casey says the 860 class has finally made me not chase a number and just be consistent. And there's a good example of what I'm talking about. It's not the same topic, cookie cutter versus micro records, but it's the same idea. It's like it's an index class that on its surface may not seem like what you want to do, but once you go there and you start racing and you're racing heads up next to the guy next to you, it's a lot of fun. But there is still the case of you yourself. You had to hit the brakes on your last race and you didn't hit them quite hard enough and you're going home. And I don't love that component, but it's a very competitive class and I do support it. Oh yeah, Mr. Draghi's the Grace S650. That is here actually. I think it's right behind that wall there. It's here for a Whipple install. Larry says, "Howdy, Ken. What's up?" All right. I think we've run our course. We're at the hour and a half mark. I really appreciate everybody being here. If you guys have any ideas for topics that you want to see talked about, or any guests that you want to see on our podcast, make sure you send us an email, support@PBDyno. Don't forget, we've not only got awesome custom tuning, we sell every part known to man. Please give us a call if you need some help picking out parts or you want to buy your parts from us. We'd really appreciate it. 561-571-1173, and we'll see you on the next.